Tonight, we have got to talk about the fact that it is 2 days after Easter, 2 days after the Trans Day of Visibility, 2 days after the first Sunday, after the first full moon, after the vernal equinox. I don't know. Take your pick. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. It's your favorite night of the week, the Deep End on Tim Hatch Live. Okay, everybody, welcome into Season 7, Episode 20 of The Deep End here on Tim Hatch Live. I'm so glad that you have taken some time out of your week to join me. I'm always kidding about that favorite night of the week thing, but let me know in the comments. Is it your favorite night of the week? I don't know. But I just want to let you know that everything that we talk about tonight is for educational purposes, so just keep that in mind. Don't get offended. I'm just trying to tell Christians how to interpret their world through a Christian worldview, because everything's crazy out there, and that happened, and that once again proved itself very much so this past Sunday. But before we get there, let's talk about some channel news. I'm incredibly excited to share this piece of news with you. The Tim Hatch Live programs are growing, expanding. We are on pray.com. If you don't have the Pray app on your phone, get it downloaded. Pray.com. We are there 5 days a week on the radio, twice on the TV on the weekend. And my Sunday morning messages, if you haven't watched my messages on Sunday, head over to youtube.com/waterschurch. And you can watch me preach there, but also coming around the nation very soon to the following networks: GEB, Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. That is also, you'll find me also on WHT, that's the World Harvest Television Network, Sundays at 8 p.m. NRB TV, Sundays at 11 p.m. and The Walk, Sundays at 8:30 a.m. Whoa, the program is expanding. Why? Because of you, because of your support. So hit that like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, get notified every time we go live here on YouTube, and then share this content or head over to pray.com and watch our content there. So many great things happening with the Tim Hatch Live team. I am thrilled to announce those things. Be on the lookout wherever you are on your television stations. You might not have any of those televisions. Don't worry about it. You can just subscribe to this channel or head over to pray.com. I'll be there as well. But crazy things in the news, particularly with this past Sunday. Sometimes I think the show should be on Monday because it's almost out of your purview now and you haven't thought about it for maybe 2 minutes. But we got to talk about the fact that Sunday was not Easter Sunday, according to the White House. No, it was the Trans Day of Visibility. Let's talk about it in Deep End News.
Deep End News. The news you choose if you could choose news.
So usually when spring starts to come around, we are talking about Jesus' resurrection. And despite what many secularists and skeptics want to say, this country exists. The United States of America exists because of Christianity. All 55 signers of the Declaration of Independence were members of a church. There was no federal state church. I get it. Yep. But there were many state churches. Oh, yes. Do your research. Every colony had a state church, and every single one of them was a Christian church. So while there is no federal state church, and thank God for that, I don't want a federal state church, but I do want a heck of a lot more Christianity in our country, because Christianity is good for the world. It teaches people how to respect each other, love one another, care for the poor, give generously, forgive willingly, and basically just live better people so that other people can be better people as well. I believe Christianity is good for the world. That's why I'm in the business that I am. That's what this channel exists for, to bring more Christianity and Christian truth to you. But now we have hit a turning point. The arrival of Joe Biden 3 years ago to the White House was supposed to be a middle shift, a shift to the middle from the right wing, fear-mongering of Donald Trump. At least the secularist mainstream media told us we need to come back together, come back to a moderate place. Well, Joe Biden got into office and he has taken the country far to the left. He hasn't. His handlers has. His visiting angels have. The people who control him, they're the ones that are bringing the country ever more to a progressive secular utopia that will not exist and never does exist. Now, usually on Easter Sunday, it is just another day for Joe Biden to sniff some children, smell some hair, make some parents feel uncomfortable as he goes in for that, second and third sniff as you're awkwardly trying to get away from the most powerful man on the planet. But this year, he decided to shun 2.3 billion Christians by declaring that the real event on Sunday was, yes, Trans Day of Visibility from the White House website itself. Now, therefore, I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, by virtue, no virtue, that is, of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim March 31st, 2024 as Transgender Day of Visibility. Now, this is news, and some of you have already hit the water cooler, and you've probably had the debate with some secularists or some skeptics and saying, well, they have had this date on the calendar. The LGBTQ alphabet mob have had this date, March 31st pick, for 15 years now to celebrate Trans Day of Visibility. So what gives, Christians? You can't just, you move the date of Easter, so how dare you? Okay, I understand that. And any group from any part of our country can celebrate any day that they want. But this has the backing and the support and the commercial advertising that is the White House, the most powerful office in the country, if not the world. And let us not forget that it was in 2021 when Biden became the first president to declare a national Trans Day of Visibility. Like I just said, any group from anywhere can celebrate any day, can commemorate any, visible day, silent day, Memorial Day in this country. That's the freedom of our country. But what is happening here is this is the abdication of our highest office for the sake of promoting cultural dysphoria. Yes, cultural dysphoria. Well, the White House was eviscerated by many faithful Christians and Catholics in this country because turns out we still have a bunch of them. Even Kaitlyn Jenner, transgender person himself, came out and said he was absolutely disgusted that Joe Biden has declared the most holy of holy days, a self-proclaimed devout Catholic, as a Transgender Day of Visibility. The only thing you should be declaring on this day is he is risen. Yes, amen, Kaitlyn. I agree. 60-year-old man named Kaitlyn. Well, the White House took the flack and then doubled down, and they said, nope, we're going to make it about inclusiveness. We don't care about the backlash. Oh, and also we're going to remove all religious-themed designs from the White House during our Easter egg art contest. So, are you seeing the transition here from the founders and every single one of them belonging to a church and the reference to nature's God and the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, that our rights are not derived from government, they're derived from Almighty God. You see how it's shifting? This is what happens. This is what secular leftists want to do. They want to pull you away from reliance and dependence on God. They want to put you into a reliance and dependence on government, and they want to be the new, cultural religion that foists its holy days upon all people and acknowledges that there is one group of people that are to be celebrated, endorsed, privileged above all people, and that, of course, are the sexually deviant. This is Biden's White House. Remember, Christmas celebrations, a weird kind of twerky dance. They had bare-breasted men, yes, bare-breasted men on the White House lawn for a pride event, and then celebrated Easter with twerking this past week. This is the Biden White House. All the while, we are supposed to believe, okay, according to the media gaslighting, that Joe Biden is a thoroughly devout Catholic. Yes, he is a thoroughly devout Catholic. Watch.
As a lifelong Catholic and a man of deep faith, President-elect Joe Biden has been open about his religion throughout his political career.
You can say a lot of things about Joe Biden. You can't say he's godless. He has a very, very deep faith.
He is, as we keep pointing out, a religious man, a man of deep faith.
Yeah, people forget he's a Catholic. He's a man of deep faith.
Joe Biden, of course, a man of deep faith.
This is a man who lives his faith.
Biden also credits faith to keeping him going.
Yeah, he's a very devout Catholic.
Biden, a devout Catholic.
He's well known to be a devout Catholic.
Joe Biden is a devout Catholic.
Joe Biden is a devout Catholic.
A very devout Catholic.
Devout Catholic.
Devout Catholic.
Devout Catholic.
Devout Catholic.
Joe Biden is a devout Catholic.
Yeah, he's actually challenging the Pope himself as the most Catholic person on the planet. Of course, Joe once said this about himself.
I don't care if you think I'm Satan reincarnated.
So what are we to believe about Joe Biden? What is he? Who is he? Well, I would like to submit this. You know, the devil describes himself or disguises himself as an angel of light. And the left-wing politics of our current country and state of affairs is such that you can basically do whatever you want as long as you claim to be a person of faith. As long as you claim to be a Catholic, you can basically disregard your Catholic faith practices in every area of leadership in our country. Because after all, it's just about what you say, right? No, it's about what you do. And there is no question in my mind that this is the most secular, the most anti-God administration in our country's history. Say what you want about the nasty things that Donald Trump says. I mean, he gives us plenty of fodder to criticize and to critique as biblical Christians. But I would like to say that Joe Biden is as Catholic as Donald Trump is evangelical, maybe even more so. Now, you were at the water cooler yesterday or today, and you've had a run-in, like I said, with the liberal progressive at work saying, I don't see a problem with it because, you know, it was always March 31st for the last 15 years. So stop being a bigot. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, let's just do some math here. Easter, Christmas, that's 2 days out of the year. 2 holy days of the year. I already talked about a couple of weeks ago that they're starting to remove Good Friday from, you know, public holiday observance in some school districts around the country. So take heart, atheists. Those nasty Christian holidays, they're on their way out. But on the way in are the more than 3.5 months worth of days or months or weeks celebrating what people want to do with their genitals. This list on the screen, whew, hard to get through it. I'll just rattle off a few. April 6th is International Asexuality Day. So pretty soon there's going to be an Easter where we're going to celebrate International Asexuality Day because Easter can fall on April 6th. Also on April 13th, did you know it was International Day of Pink that is opposing homophobia? So that will also be on an Easter coming soon. April 14th is a day of silence at public schools in support of homosexuality. Again, another potential date for Easter. So plenty of Easter dates that are going to conflict in the future with genital celebration days or weeks, if you will. But just consider this list. You've got the entire month of June, Pride Month, the entire month of October, LGBT History Month, the entire month of November, Trans Awareness Month, Transparent Day on November 5th, Intersex Day of Remembrance, November 8th, September 26th to 23rd, Bisexual Awareness Week. What on earth is that even? Why is there a whole week devoted to bisexual awareness? Do we need more awareness about sexual deviancy, what people want to do with their private parts? This is a country gone wrong. This is the wrath of God on display. This is God, Romans chapter 1, handing us over to the lusts of our secular counterparts' own desires. Let's take a look also, by the way. November 20th is Transgender Day of Remembrance. Now, here's something interesting. Transgenders get 2 whole days, Day of Remembrance for those who have died as a transgender, and days of visibility so that we look at them and notice them. Oh, and by the way, we're going to notice them today on the show, so stay tuned. But did you notice that they put it on November 20th for the Transgender Day of Remembrance? Because there is a secular holiday in Thanksgiving. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called, in November, it's called Thanksgiving. I just said it. I just butchered that intro. There's a secular holiday called Thanksgiving in November. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it falls always on the 4th Thursday of November. And they have very strategically chosen a date that can't possibly be Thanksgiving to be the Transgender Day of Remembrance. So follow along, friends. The sexual deviants believe or have far more respect for Thanksgiving. They don't want that day, that sacred holiday of eating, overeating, stuffing our faces with family and football. They don't want that day to interfere with a transgender or bisexual day or week or month or whatever have you. But Easter is fair game for up to 4, if not 5, genitalia holidays on the calendar, according to the LGBT alphabet mob. Soon it will be that there will be a celebration every day for what somebody wants to do with their privates. I mean, honestly, over and under to the amount of time it's going to take before we see that the American flag has been replaced by the progress flag. Over under, because another thing that very devout Catholic Joe Biden does is he fights for the progress flag to be flown at embassies, American embassies around the world. Oh, and by the way, on Joe Biden's watch, America has had to flee 6 U.S. embassies around the world. most notably recently in Haiti. Six U.S. embassies have been evacuated under Joe Biden's watch. At the same time, he is pushing for the LGBT progress flag to be flown at those embassies. There is a correlation here. The more a nation embraces and celebrates sin, the more it becomes a disgrace, and the more God chases that nation out of where it came from. Yes, there are over 3 months and 28 days celebrated relegated or designated for LGBTQ events across the calendar. And if you think that this is the first time we're going to have a national sacred holy day commemorating also some genitalia day, you are sorely mistaken. There are many, many, many more days to come, because what is really at work here in the hearts of the LGBT alphabet mob is they know deep down inside they're not right. They need affirmation constantly because they are out of balance with God. They're out of balance with their own bodies. They're out of balance with their own minds. My heart goes out to you LGBTQ people, because not all of you are, you're not part of the mob. You're not trying to, push this garbage down the throats of children or other people, or silence Christians, or hate on your neighbor for not agreeing. Most of them are just confused people. They have terrible histories. They have terrible family lives, and they don't know who they are, and they struggle, and they just need prayer, and they do need our Christian love. Like, I'm a Christian pastor, so let me make sure that you hear me say this. Love your LGBTQIA neighbor in Jesus' name. Love them as you would love yourself, because there's no qualifier on that. And yet at the same time, Christians, be aware that the country is shifting radically and quickly into this secular progressive utopia that has been imagined for the last 60 years by the flower children that came out of the, free love movement of the 1960s and the sexual revolution. And you are a minority. You're going to continue to be a minority. And here's what our answer is. Our answer is devout faith in Jesus Christ, love for him, family and church, serving the Lord, loving our neighbors, and caring for those who need help. Most notably, who needs help? The founder of Transgender Day of Visibility. Here he is. This is Rachel Crandall Crocker. I kid you not. I'm sorry. This is Rachel Crandall Crocker, the Trans Day of Visibility founder. Now, he has never worked in government. He claims to be a woman. This guy wants to be in bathrooms with little girls. And I mean, I know, I just got done saying, we don't want to mock them, but come on. You can't see the similarities here between him and the Penguin from Batman Returns. I got a video of him talking. Again, these are people who are seriously disturbed. Here he is talking about himself. Listen.
Hi, I'm Rachel Crandall Crocker, and I'm Executive Director of Transgender Michigan, and I am founder and organizer of the International Transgender Day of Visibility. And I want to share with you how that all happened.
Okay, so I don't want to go on here because it's just sad. I mean, it's really, really sad. This is a person who is potentially demon possessed. Just to be honest with you, the speech, the inability to speak. Let's think about the number of times we see in the Gospels. There's a mute. There's somebody who can't speak because they're demon possessed. This is a person who has jumped full on into the degradation of himself and his body and who God made him to be. He is lost. He's lost. And this is the movement. These are the people who represent the aggressive movement. Okay. I mean, this is what, when I see him, this is what I see. This is what I see. I'm sorry. I just got to put it up there. He's asking, where's the little girl's room? And to anyone who is offended, to all the people who might, shut me off right now on YouTube, and if this video even lasts on YouTube, so check us out on Rumble and on Pray.com and all those other outlets, or especially on X.com. But to all the people who are offended, you're shutting me off or you want to put a little nasty comment. I get it. You disagree with me vehemently. Here's my prayer for you. I am praying that Rachel Randall Crocker comes into your 12-year-old girl's shared locker room at school or shared locker room at the YMCA. I'm praying that you get exactly what you want, because I don't want it. I'm a father of a daughter. I don't want my daughter in a bathroom with a grown man. I don't care what his delusion is. I don't care how much the White House celebrates him. I don't care how much this culture says I'm the bigot. I'm proudly the bigot if I'm going to stand for little girls to not have to shower, change, or go to the bathroom with grown, freaking, demon-possessed men. Then bigot be I. And I pray that you get exactly what you want. I do. I really do. I hate to say it. It might sound unloving. But for those of you who disagree, that's where it goes. And if you don't think so, you're not paying attention. Here was the Cartoon Network this past week putting up all of their celebration for Transgender Day of Visibility. Nothing about Easter. Of course not. And here are the phrases that they're shoving down the kids' throats on Instagram. I am growing into my fullest self. My identity is a process, not a race. My existence is revolutionary. I love who I am and who I will become. My body belongs to me. I mean, these are Marxist revolutionary statements that our children are being groomed into through Cartoon Networks and other outlets, and we will get to one called Nickelodeon at the end of this show. Stay tuned. Let us not forget that if you go to Planet Fitness and you see a man like this getting changed in the women's locker room and you report him, you lose your membership. Not him. No, not the man in the women's locker room. This happened in Alaska at Planet Fitness, okay? The person with the Planet Fitness membership, the woman who reported this man changing in the woman's locker room, had her membership revoked. This is unbelievable. And what does Planet Fitness say? You can use a stall if you're uncomfortable with seeing a man in your locker room. And thank God for people like this. This guy has stepped up to the plate, done the right thing, canceled his membership. Watch.
So I just left, canceled my membership. I went in, and the lady who helped me out, she was new, she was in training. She got to the point where she asked the reason why I was canceling it, and I informed her about the Alaska situation and the Planet Fitness non-discrimination policy and how they sided with the man in the bathroom, and they revoked the lady's membership in Alaska. And she's like, I never heard of that. And I can believe it because she's new to Planet Fitness. But what got me was when it got to the point where she had to put in the reason for the cancellation, she asked the manager what she should put in there, and she told him what I had said. He said, well, we can't put that. And they put a different reason in there to justify my cancellation. So not only is Planet Fitness siding with the trans non-discrimination thing, but now they're covering it up. Mm-hmm. Instead of admitting what they did was wrong, they hid the reason why I canceled my membership. Doesn't matter. I'm no longer a member. They're no longer going to get another penny of my money, and I hope every one of you do the same thing. We got to protect our women. Mm-hmm. We got to stop letting the 1% take over. Take a stand. It's time.
Yeah, and this is where it goes, because they have to cover for the regime. They have to cover for dear leader Joe Biden. They have to constantly run cover because this is a subversive revolution. It is supposed to be under the surface. When I announced on Easter Sunday, when I preached to my church what Joe Biden and the White House did, announcing that it was Transgender Day of Visibility, the shock was audible at every single service. No one knew it was happening. Of course, they don't want you to know it's happening. That's why you've got to follow this channel, because this channel is here to help you know what is actually happening. They're not interested in telling you. LA Fitness just made the same choice that Planet Fitness made. You can use whatever locker room you want. It's all about how you feel inside. Have at it. And no one knows. This is why people are continually shocked. You've got to get up to speed with this so that you can identify it, protect your family, especially if you've got daughters and sons. My heart goes out to those who have young children. I thank God that my youngest is 12, and I'm past that, toddler stage for all of my children. Thank God. But it is harder than ever to be a father and a mother in today's society. And they always say, why are you offended? Why are you offended? I don't get it. Shame on you. You're a bigot. And maybe you're offended. But again, like I said, if you're offended, I just really truly hope one day a grown man walks into the bathroom that you use, liberal ladies, liberal 20-year-olds. I really pray this. And then you experience the true joy of your tolerant beliefs. Because I think it's the cognitive dissonance on this matter that's really the problem. People really don't understand that the more evil is tolerated, the worse life becomes. The more evil is celebrated, the worse life becomes. There's such a thing as order and there's such a thing as chaos. And when we celebrate chaos, disorder abounds, order doesn't have a chance. And then it's not just that area that gets chaotic, it's every area. It's every area that gets chaotic. If a parent is lenient about their child staying out late at night, yeah, you come home whenever you want, honey. I trust you. Okay, well, don't you think that that's going to lead to further chaos in the child's life? The curfew, okay, is established to set boundaries so that things after curfew don't happen that could potentially happen. America has no sensitivities. America has no cultural curfew anymore. Everything is on the table. Anything is available now. And so now we're going to see the foundations of our society continue to crumble, people continually confused, shocked by the news that they don't hear. That's the problem. This is the news that you don't hear, and I want to give you a bit more of it. Like, did you hear about the fact that there was a Transgender Day of Vengeance that was scheduled for yesterday? That's right. Come out, trans people, and enact vengeance, okay, in the name of gaining acceptance. And by the way, the most ironic thing about this Transgender Day of Vengeance, it had to be canceled for the second year in a row. Why? Because of actual transgender violence. So the Newsweek reports Transgender Day of Violence had to be canceled because of violence last year. If you remember last year, the shooting at the Nashville Covenant School happened. Trans activists entered the school and shot up a bunch of innocent children and teachers at a Christian school. The manifesto was released by Crowder, louder with Crowder, and there's all kinds of references to attacking white people, even though the shooter was white, which is kind of interesting, and Christians. And so it was definitely a hate crime against Christians. Of course, it's never reported as a hate crime against Christians because, again, the regime has to run cover so that the subversive revolution can continue. And if you're just ignorant of it, it'll just continue on your watch. So, again, they had to cancel their Transgender Day of Vengeance. Again, the Daily Wire reporting Transgender Day of Vengeance outside Nashville scheduled for Easter Sunday. I thought it was yesterday. Actually, it was Easter Sunday. The week of the anniversary of the mass killing of schoolchildren by transgender terrorists has been canceled following the exposure of the event by the Daily Wire. Organizers did not apologize for the optics of calling for vengeance near the anniversary of the Covenant mass murder, but rather claimed they were the victims. And here's how it says. Event canceled due to misleading headlines from right-wing news sites. We have received many threats. We will be having a makeup show at a later date at a new venue. We decided the threat was too great and we don't want to risk anyone's safety. So that's kind of ironic. Like, you're calling for vengeance and then you're scared of the violence that you might face because you're calling for vengeance. By the way, what do the Day of Vengeance events do for the trans group? Oh, they raise money for firearms training, of course. I guess guns only kill people if you are straight, white, heterosexual, Christian. Then if you're a transgender guy who thinks you're a girl, guns don't kill people and we can raise money to arm you. And these are the threats of people, transgender activists, holding guns and sharing their pictures brazenly on social media to tell you that they are not going to take it anymore. They're not going to take it. They have suffered violence so much, they're going to fight back. And some people might suggest, well, hey, it's just figurative violence. It's not real violence. It's just figurative, just a figurative day of vengeance. Okay, I hear you. Let's check the receipts. Such as in August 2019, when a trans woman, this is a man pretending to be a woman, attacked 5 random people at a 7-Eleven with an axe in Sydney, Australia. The attacker claimed he had mental illness and was under the influence of hormone medication, cannabis, amphetamines, and alcohol. Or in January 2023, when Carmen David Storer, a man posing as a woman, set fire to a historic church in Portland. The eerie part of this news is that Storer stated that he had heard voices in his head saying that the voices would mutilate him if he did not burn the church down, and that he had planned it up to the one day in advance. So, yeah, transgender violence is a thing. Don't let them tell you otherwise. The Washington Examiner reporting back in 2021, a 12-year-old girl was raped by a trans classmate in New Mexico. This article states that the young girl, whose post-millennial pseudonym is Ray, said she is used to sharing the bathroom with boys because of the academy's gender identity policies. And she said she was too afraid to approach the school leaders because she thought that she would be labeled a bigot. You see how they silence even the victims into these atrocities to be further victimized by them. How about in 2024, January, a man posing as a transgender woman raped a female prisoner in Rikers prison. How about in Philadelphia, LGBTQ activist charged with rape, sexual assault of 2 children, ages 14 and 9. Nothing to see here. It just goes on and on and on. But they're going to call for a day of vengeance. And then this news out of Scotland, a hate crime bill goes into effect yesterday, appropriately on April Fool's Day, where it will now be a punishment to misgender anyone, even online. So if you use someone's wrong pronouns, their preferred pronouns, you could go to jail in Scotland. And if you don't think this is coming to America and other countries, think again. Just ask yourself, where do you think Joe Biden would take the country? Where do you think? The entire Democratic Party wants to take the country. They absolutely want to follow Scotland's lead here because they have been co-opted by this sexual deviant, sexual progressive cult. So Scotland is home to J.K. Rowling, who wrote the Harry Potter novels. And so this is fantastic, by the way, on April 1st, the day the law was initiated, the day that the law went into effect, J.K. Rowling took to Twitter, or X, to once again show that she's not scared to call the nonsense out. I got to say, J.K. Rowling has more balls than most men in Scotland. She refuses to call men who put on a dress a she. So she posted in a Twitter thread, or X thread, I don't know how you call it now, a Twitter or X thread, 11 examples of violent transgender extremists who were proudly advertising their violence on social media platforms. She highlighted a double rapist who transitioned to woman just before being sentenced, very conveniently, and now we must respect this filth's pronouns. She talks about Katie, and this is a hard word, this is a hard last name, Dolatowski, 6'5" man sent to a woman's prison after transitioning, and then after being thrown in a men's prison. By the way, he was thrown into a men's prison for sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl in a woman's public bathroom. So follow the logic. Sexually assaults a 10-year-old in civil society, goes to prison, transitions to a woman, and now he's going to be bunking with women in a prison. I wonder how that's going to go for the women prisoners. She talked about Samantha Norris. This man pretending to be a woman, was cleared of exposing his penis to an 11-year-old girl. He was then convicted for possession of 16,000 images of children being raped and sexually assaulted. Be that as it may, she says Sam is still a lady because he thinks he is. She talks about one Scottish man named Amy George. It's just so weird. Abducted an 11-year-old girl while dressing in female clothing, now calls himself a woman, and we must go along with his insanity. And then it extends to sports, where men like Giulia Valentino plays in women's sports and dominates accordingly. Yay, sisterhood. And then in the halls of power, this is, I want to pronounce the name rightly, Mirudal Madwa, the head of a Scottish Rape Crisis Center. Okay, you can't make this kind of stuff up. This is a man pretending to be a woman who is now the head of a rape crisis center in Scotland. And he got the job over a woman by pretending to be a woman. You know, I finally got around to watching a hideous movie called Barbie this past weekend. I was on the plane and I was bored and it was available and I thought, I talked about it on the show, so I probably should watch it. I just resisted as long as I could. Anyway, basically what happens in Barbie Land is they go to the real world, and Ken and Barbie go to the real world, and Ken discovers patriarchy. He realizes that in the real world, it's not women who dominate, it's men who dominate. So he goes and he tries to, fit in with the patriarchy in the real world. And then there was this fantastic scene where the secular progressives writing the script wanted to say a thing about how the patriarchy still rules, but just hides it better. And it's kind of funny because, yeah, they do by pretending to be women. Just this is the scene. Watch.
PhDs isn't being a man enough. Actually, right now, it's kind of the opposite. You guys are clearly not doing patriarchy very well.
No, no, we're doing it well. Yeah, we just hide it better now.
Oh.
Yeah, they hide it better by being women. So the patriarchy still rules. Friends, the demons are not coming. The demons are here. There's that great book I read by Jonathan Cahn, The Return of the Gods. You got to read it. It's about how all of this, sexual deviancy, it's spiritism. It was in the Native Americans when they were here. It was in the Hittites and the Amalekites and the Ammonites and the Amorites of the land of Canaan, the Promised Land. This was what God called on Israel to wipe out in the Old Covenant movement of Holy War, and it is returning with a vengeance in our day the more secular our country gets. If you want any more proof that the secular progressives are ruling and reigning, just take a look at this news piece out of People. U.S. Soccer's Corbin Albert has to apologize for her disrespectful posts mocking Megan Rapinoe and the LGBTQ plus community. Now, the story is, Corbin Albert, she's on the U.S. women's national soccer team, former teammate of now retired Megan Rapinoe. Foolishly, I will say that Albert liked some posts that mocked her teammate Megan Rapinoe's injury during her final game. I mean, that is a legitimate gripe, right? Rapinoe is an egomaniac. She claimed there was no God because she got injured in her final game. It was probably like a joke to her. I don't know. I don't know her soul. I don't know her spiritual life. I can guess, but I'm sure she's no Christian. But if you're on the same team with this person, maybe don't like posts that attack your teammates no matter what they believe. But the story is that one of the posts that she posted, which has now been removed because she feels bad about insulting Megan Rapinoe and the LGBTQ community, is this post of a former trans woman, so a man who was a woman and came back to being a man because Christ saved him. Again, Corbin, U.S. soccer player, posted this to her social media account and then retracted it because Megan Rapinoe deemed it offensive. Here's the video, just so you can see two things. This is considered offensive, people getting saved, and sharing the fact that people get saved from the trans cult. And number two, Jesus can still save you. Jesus can still change you. Watch.
My name is Quinn. I had seizures in the womb. I was diagnosed with epilepsy, Ehlers-Danlos, and an intellectual disability. I started watching pornography at 12, and I witnessed my mom being beaten. That experience resulted in violent thoughts, rage, fighting, coldness, stealing, vandalism, drugs, and being in a gang. Although I got saved at a Christian school, by the age of 15, I was attracted to men and women, and I actually stopped feeling like a guy. Although I was ashamed of my feelings, God revealed to me that I was made in His image. I ignored God's love, and abused alcohol and abused cocaine. But God kept me safe. By 24, I fully embraced the idea of same-sex attraction and acted upon those desires. Around the same time, my mom was hospitalized due to her alcoholism. She passed away soon after, and as I saw her monitor flatline, my life came crashing down. I knew I needed to get help, so I went to counseling, but never revealed the shame I was battling with feeling transgender. A few months later, I started taking hormones. However, in the midst of this time, God led me to ACC through a new friend. I was introduced to Jesus and the Holy Spirit started consuming me, and I actually felt his tangible presence. In fact, one time at ACC during communion, I literally felt a hand on my shoulder and turned to see who it was, but nobody was there. I believe it was God's hand on my shoulder. I even felt God tell me to stop taking the hormones. I threw them away and have not been on them since.
Praise the Lord.
God truly saved me in so many ways. It's because of God that I didn't die in the womb. It's because of God that I am not in jail. It's because of God that I'm alive today. It's because of God that I have a personal relationship with him. My story only makes sense because there is a loving God, a God that wanted me, a God who sent his son to die for people like me. I'm here today to declare with my life that Jesus wins.
Amen. Powerful, amazing, and yet, according to Megan Rapinoe, hateful, disrespectful to her. You have to take it down. Albert folded. She caved to the woke mob. She deleted the post and apologized. I just want to put this up. You know, in nature, poisonous creatures will often develop bright colors to warn that they are toxic. That's our world. That's the movement that we are currently in, because they don't tell you the news. It's a subversive revolution. Just like Mao's revolution was subversive, just like Hitler's revolution was subversive. They go after the young, they divide you from your family, they divide parents from children. There are people all over this country, parents will not talk to their children over these issues. You will leave a church because the pastor talks about these issues from a biblical point of view, and you will walk away from the joy, the benefits, the goodness that could be yours in Christ Jesus by belonging to a church. They don't want to tell you the news, and they definitely don't want to tell you the facts. Now, I covered years ago Abigail Shrier's Irreversible Damage book on the transgender craze, seducing our daughters, and and she does a great job in that book with documented evidence proving the social contagion tied to transgenderism. That is, if your friends start talking about it, or if you're alone on your smartphone device all day, like say during a 12-week-long COVID shutdown, you will be instigated or influenced to become what you are not, that is transgender. The science is out there. It's proving that this is a social contagion. You don't go from 0.3% of the population to, I think is now 1.6% of the population being transgender. Or consider the generational shift where boomers 0.3% were transgender, and you've gotten to this point now where Gen Z is 30% LGBTQIA. 30%. So social contagion is a thing. Now, it's not just Abigail Shrier talking about this. It's also Jonathan Haidt, another social scientist and psychologist of notable reputation, not a Christian at all, not a conservative at all. But he went on PBS NewsHour to talk about the fact that the social contagion is real. Watch.
So there's very important older research by Nicholas Christakis and James Fowler, where they looked at, they had gigantic health data sets, the Framingham Heart Study. And they were able to see that, if one person takes up smoking, their friends are more likely to take up smoking. But actually, so are their friends. And even friends. So the things we do spread out through social network. We affect each other. Now, it turns out, when you're looking at emotions, girls and women, when this study women, when a woman is depressed, that spreads out to her network. Whereas when a man is depressed, it doesn't. Women talk about their feelings. They're more connected in that way. Girls, you're connecting on social media, where it just turns out in many communities, the more anxious and depressed you are, the more you get support. The more extreme your symptoms, the more you get likes and followers. Of course, it's good to destigmatize social mental illness. We don't want people to be ashamed, but boy, is it a terrible idea to valorize it. To tell young people, you know what? The more you have this, the more popular you'll be, the more support you'll get. And so you get this explosion, not just of anxiety. Anxiety is in part, I think, spread sociogenically, it's called, from social causes, not from internal causes. But we get it for dissociative identity disorder, and it seems to be the case for gender dysphoria as well.
And you think that the data demonstrates that it is above and beyond just the phenomenon of coming out and an increased awareness?
Mm-hmm. Yes, because it happens in clusters of girls. It happens in clusters of girls who had no previous gender dysphoria when they were young. So it's very different from the kinds of gender dysphoria cases that we've known about for decades. I mean, it is a real thing. But what happened, especially when girls got YouTube and Instagram early, but then especially TikTok, girls get sucked into these vortices and they take on each other's purported mental illnesses.
That is really something for Jonathan Haidt to come out and say that, because he is taking a very big risk professionally. They're not going to just let this come out of his mouth without some cost. I mean, I've already seen some people attacking him on X, and he is very calmly and rationally explaining his reasons and the science behind his findings and supporting his findings again and again. You have to do it. You have to support the findings 2 or 3 times to prove the science that, yeah, it's a social contagion, particularly among young, vulnerable girls, this transgender craze. And all you have to do is, again, look at Hollywood. I mean, this is a list of the mothers who have transitioned their children in Hollywood. You've got Megan Fox, that's her son. Gwen Stefani, her son, is now a girl. And Angelina Jolie has a girl that's now a boy. Adele has a son who's a girl. Charlize Theron, Naomi Watts. I mean, this is celebrated in Hollywood, and it is celebrated at the White House, and it will continue to grow. It will continue to spread. I say, there is one little piece of good about this. I don't know if you know, like, the original transgender kid was Blair White. Blair White was a boy and is now a girl, and is all over this, but is really on the side of the conservative movement, thinking it's gone too far. And here's what Blair White tweeted in response to Transgender Day of Visibility. I'm a transsexual and disturbed by the blatantly inflammatory prioritization of Trans Day of Visibility above Easter by Biden and the establishment. It's led me to a decision about something brewing in me for a while now. I'm going to try church for the first time. Amen, Blair. And I pray in Jesus' name that Blair meets him. I really do. I pray it, because my aim in the Christian movement's aim is not to see homosexuals become heterosexuals or transgenders to become non-transgenders. That's a fruit that will come in time. But ultimately, we want you to be connected with your Father. And if you surrender your life to him, you begin the process of becoming who he made you to be, who you're supposed to be. Because all of this transgender nonsense and all of this sexual deviancy and gender dysphoria and social anxiety and all of these things that are mentally playing with our minds, it is the fruit of a life disconnected from the author of life. That's really what it is. You're walking in darkness. You're ignorant of who God is and what is truth, and you're paying a very big price with your own life. And that's the sad part. And that's where we are, unfortunately. But we've got to toe the line. We've got to stay strong. We've got to preach the word. Amen. We've got to be committed to Christ as followers of Jesus. Now's not the time to be ignorant of these things. We also have to present a rational argument around why biblical truth is correct, scientific proof about this is correct, and know where we can find the resources necessary to help substantiate those views. Jonathan Haidt's newest book being one of them, and again, Abigail Shrier's Irreversible Damage. Okay, let's do a pastor recommends, because Hollywood is very problematic for kids, and a new documentary proves it. Let's do it. Okay, I can't recommend this documentary enough. It's called Quiet on Set. It's on ID Network, and it details the sexual abuse and labor abuse practices at the very, very popular television station Nickelodeon in the 1990s and 2000s. The documentary covers dialogue coach Brian Peck's abuse of Drake Bell, of Drake and Josh and other children, as well as other pedophiles on staff at Nickelodeon in the 1990s and 2000s. Amazingly, Brian Peck is a serial groomer and pedophile, and only spent 16 months in prison, and I think he's back working in Hollywood. But here is the trailer. You got to watch it. It is a powerful.
In the early 90s, Nickelodeon was kid everything, and you better hope that your house had cable.
Wasn't there to educate you. We were there to have fun, to get slimed, to be entertained.
And this is when Dan Schneider arrives, Nickelodeon's golden boy. He created these shows that were hugely successful for them.
No one had ever really done sketch comedy starring kids for kids.
He launched the careers of child actors who became major stars.
For 20 years, he shaped children's entertainment and culture.
Hey, thank you for being here.
But that marked one of the darkest chapters
working for Dan was like being in an abusive relationship.
Dan's treatment of people on his shows was an open secret.
So my lawyer filed complaints, gender discrimination, hostile work environment, harassment, and it was so devastating.
How safe can any kids be in that environment?
There would be even bigger problems down the line with actual pedophiles on set. These are 3 predators who worked at Nickelodeon, all in a short amount of time.
Wait, guys, we're ready for you.
It was a toxic environment. It made me trust people less.
We were there for so many hours. You get comfortable with people.
It goes on and on. You can watch it yourself. It is a very powerful 4-part documentary. They just greenlit the 5th part that's going to be produced pretty soon. This is no secret, of course, in Hollywood. Pedophilia runs rampant. Can you remember this video clip by Corey Feldman, once a child star, saying the following?
That the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry. It's the big secret.
And it's widespread?
Oh, yeah. I was surrounded by them when I was 14 years old. Surrounded. Literally. Didn't even know it. It wasn't until I was old enough to realize what they were and what they wanted and what they were about and the types of people that were surrounding me till I went, oh my God, they were everywhere like vultures.
Yeah. They've been coming for the children for years. Only now some of us are awake to it, and you cannot afford to sleep, friends. You cannot afford to sleep. Okay, let me close out. It's been a heavy episode. Let me close out with some humor. You know, humor is good for the soul. And I love when we can just see sometimes the insanity of our age be mocked, because I think that some mocking insanity is the only answer, because they won't listen to rationality. They won't listen to the science. They won't listen to the truth. So just calling them out on their complete lunacy on their playing field is necessary. So some guy named Joe logged on to a support group on Zoom for fat and queer people. This is I think for fat queer women. I'm not sure. But he decided to record his experience joining this fat and queer group as probably a 110-pound man, but identifying as a 275-pound lesbian. And so here's the video. Watch.
This is a queer fat club.
I'm queer and fat.
Okay, thank you for joining. We're just introducing ourselves at the moment.
Okay.
Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Joe?
Yeah, my name's Joe. I go by he, they, and I identify as 275 pounds.
Okay.
I feel like Jay's kind of making fun of me, though. I know it's kind of a shock. I know, kind of a new thing.
I'm just,
Do what?
I said I apologize.
Oh, no, you're good.
Are you comfortable leaving the group at the moment?
Why?
I'm not understanding why you're joining the group.
This is the queer and fat group now?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I came here for.
Okay. And you said you identify as fat?
Yeah.
Okay. This is just for fat-bodied people.
Yeah, I understand. I identify as a fat-bodied person.
I'm not understanding where you're coming from.
Are you guys comfortable with me here? I mean, I'm pretty chill on my end.
I'm not comfortable, no.
Can we take like a vote?
The reason why I bring that up, I don't want to laugh at those people. I want to laugh at the ideology. Anybody can just say whatever they are. You can say whatever you are, except a Christian who believes the Bible. Then you're anathema. then you're a moron. And then leave it to the Babylon Bee to produce a fantastic short on how atheists think Christianity started. So in the name of Easter, in honor of Easter, in honor of Resurrection Day, this video caught my attention and is pretty hilarious. This is that idea that the apostles suffered and died for an illusion, for a fable that they made up, and has been running for 2,000 years strong. Watch.
Jesus is dead. But stick with me, okay? Stick with me. I have a plan. We are going to steal his body.
Okay, I'm tracking with you. What's next?
And then we're going to tell the whole world that he rose from the dead.
Oh, you know I'm in.
I love it already.
All right, classic. Then what?
And then we're all going to get brutally murdered.
That was good. Okay, we've got a lot of other content that is going to be released right now to the Dependables Club. So if you are not part of our Dependables membership plan, join now because I've got tons more to share. You know, including the threat against Christians sending relief overseas by our federal government and crazy things happening in the Bronx due to our open borders. So head over to patreon.com/TimHatchLive. And if you support us, we support Project Rescue and the American Bible Society. And you can also support us by going over to TimHatchLiveShop.com and purchasing some merch. And other than that, I'm so glad that you were here. I hope that you join the Dependables, and I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless you. See you tomorrow for the deep dive.